With that said, Michael, we take a roll call.
Alderman Bob Bauman, Alderwoman Malaley Cox, Mr. Grady Crosby,
Here.
Bill Christensen,
Here.
Mark Flaherty,
Here.
Representative Kaylin Haywood, Senator LaTanya Johnson.
Here.
Jim Cantor.
Here.
Kathy Blumenfeld.
Here.
Senator Devin LeMahieu. Greg Marcus. Mayor Dennis McBride.
Here.
Alderman Jose Perez. Mr. Gerard Randall.
Here.
Representative Jesse Rodriguez.
Here.
Omar Sheck.
Here.
Liz Sumner.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Thank you very much. And thanks for being here. First, I want to thank Bill and Liz. It's your first official meeting. So for the board members that haven't met Bill and Liz, the new county and city controllers. So welcome to the board and appreciate your work already from the finance committee meeting late last week. With that said, any discussion from the meeting minutes from our previous meeting in March 15th, 2024? Any discussion of the meeting minutes? Move adoption. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great. Those meeting minutes are approved. We'll turn it over to.
Can I abstain?
Yes, you can abstain.
Great.
Absolutely. You were not at the meeting, so that's perfectly. Anything else? Good. Steve, we'll turn it over to you for our financial report and then subsequently a little introduction to our audit.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. Before we get into the main topic of today's meeting, which is a presentation from Baird regarding the 2023 audited financials, we'll first review year-to-date 2024 financials, as well as a projected forecast for year-end. We're also going to provide a quick update on the expansion project budgets, as well as cash flow projections for the remaining trailing project expenses. So with a lot to do today, let's jump right into page 8 of your packet, which is the income statement with column IDs A, B, C, and D at the top. Column A represents year-to-date budget through April. Column B represents year-to-date actual results, and column C is the variance between the two. And starting with the bottom line first, you see on line 65, column C, we are better than budget by $895K. Most of that positive variance is driven from non-operating income, line 40, where we're better than budget by $922K. This is the result of better than expected interest income earned on expansion project debt proceeds, which is noted on line 35. The amount of cash that has been drawn down from the project account year to date has been less than budgeted, which has given us more time to earn interest on a larger balance. As has been the case with this category since the start of the project, any excess interest earned from the project proceeds is restricted and can be used only for the project itself. Line 38, Bucks District ticket surcharge revenue is also up, as we saw more Bucks games in the first 4 months than budgeted. The Cirque du Soleil shows held in March, 5 performances in total, was also a net positive budget. Scrolling up line 14, total operating income, you see that we're $200K better than budget in this category. Event revenues generated from the meeting and convention business, specifically line 1 event room fees, and line 4 food and beverage revenue have exceeded expectations, driven by more volume and higher margins. You'll notice line 10, advertising revenue is trailing budget right now. Through the first 4 months, we budgeted to have earned more new business in this category than actualized. That said, we expect to close some of the gap for the remainder of the year as agreements with both Potawatomi and We Energies became effective in May. Line 27, total operating expenses missed budget by $675K. Much of this was driven by line 15, wages. More wages were paid out due to increased event activity in the meeting and convention business, as well as increased overtime from staff due to open positions. We also saw an incremental increase as our building services team began training for the onboarding of new building systems, which started coming online the first quarter of 2024. Line 20, total event expense is also over budget. This category primarily represents payments made to our arena tenants in the form of revenue sharing. The Admirals in particular saw a substantial increase here as food and beverage revenue sales from their events exceeded budget. Overall net operating income, line 28, is trailing budget by $474K. Conversely, non-operating expenses, line 64, is better than budget by about $448K. Much of that positive variance is captured in line 44, health and dental insurance, due to less employees enrolled in the benefit plans budgeted. This is a result of not filling open positions as quickly as expected which is also driving the positive variance in line 41 salaries. So that is the year-to-date story, which has the district at a positive budget variance of $895K. So where do we think we're going to end the year? Well, let's flip the page to 9, which has column IDs EFG at the top. This income statement compares our annual budget, column E, to our projected annual year-end forecast, column F. And again, starting at the bottom, you can see we expect to modestly grow that positive budget variance that we saw on the previous page to almost 1.2 million by year-end, is noted on line 65, column G. The primary driver of this growth is improvement in net operating income, as we expect the outlook for the meeting and convention business for the remainder of the year to be strong. On line 28, you see that number is expected to be a negative 161K by year end, and that's an improvement over the negative 474 as seen on the previous page. Non-operating revenues, line 40, are expected to end the year with a net positive budget variance of 845K. And that's slightly less than what we saw year to date. And that slight decrease is primarily driven, unfortunately, by the Bucks' early exit from the playoffs and the resulting negative impact the district to get through charge collections. Non-operating expenses, line 64, is forecasted to remain better than budget due to the same factors that are driving that year-to-date positive variance, which is less enrollment in WCD benefit plans, and coupled with very little variation in other non-operating expense line items relative to budget. Again, this all leads to a positive budget variance that we're projecting of about $1.2 million. We do believe there are opportunities the remainder of the year that we can leverage that may result in stronger projected net income by the time we meet again in September. As an example, you'll note line 8, Datacom revenue. This represents revenue earned from data services that we provide clients upon request. Oftentimes, these requests can come last minute, so this category could be understated as we're simply representing requests made to date. Along with that opportunity also comes risk. You'll notice line 4, food and beverage revenue. That's driven by estimated spend per head and attendance. Revenue in this category could be overstated if factors such as attendance are less than expected. Overall, we do remain optimistic, however, about the business outlook for the rest of the fiscal year, and we'll be looking to strongly leverage opportunities to generate incremental revenue as they present themselves. Are there any questions on the income statement before we move on? Okay, well, let's flip ahead to pages 12 and 13. Those represent our cash flow projections for the remainder of the year. These really represent the district's checkbook balance. Page 12, you see the restricted revenue account growing, expected to be over 34 million by year end. And with this balance getting to these levels, and I mentioned this at the committee and board meetings in March, we're currently investigating options to use a portion of these funds to defease some long-term debt. We've engaged with our fiduciary financial advisor, RW Baird, on this topic, and it's possible, and perhaps even likely, that management will be coming to the board in the fall to seek their approval to use these funds for that purpose. More to come on this matter, and we'll continue to update the board as we prepare to take next steps in that process.
Is this some debt that's on the Island Theater?
The long-term debt that is being considered for defeasance pertains to the expansion. So the 2020 bonds that we issued to fund the 419 million is where the most opportunity is. The biggest bang for our buck that we can get would be sort of the out years of that debt.
And Steve, these debt service payments that we're making now, these aren't from the new expansion. These are from previous issues, right?
That's right. Annual debt service paid in 2024 pertains to the original construction, along with existing debt that we have on the Miller High Life Theater. Expansion debt doesn't start coming due until 2027. Any other questions? Okay, the next page, page 13, is the unrestricted cash flow. And these numbers are all derived from the projected year-end income statement that we just reviewed. You see in the bottom right-hand corner, we expect to have a year-end balance of 11.9 billion. And that's an improvement of 3.1 million from budget. Certainly good news there. Both the restricted and unrestricted fund balances remain in a very healthy position. Pages 14 and 15 represent the district's annual capital budget forecast. Take a look at page 15, line 78. You can see we're currently right near our line. We've had a few unexpected projects pop up the first 5 months of the year, so uncommon. And as a result of reprioritize other projects in order to fund these more immediate needs. Overall, management's not concerned with these developments. And we'll look to prioritize in 2025 any unfunded projects from 2024. Pages 16 and 17 represent documents pertaining to the project. Page 16 is a cash drawdown schedule that shows the approximate funding dates for any remaining trailing expenses associated with construction and commissioning of the north building, as well as final renovations to the south. As you can see, there's not much left to go here. In fact, last week, we initiated our final drawdown on the original 2020 debt, officially closing those project accounts. So remaining funding for trailing expenses is going to come from the debt that we issued in 2022, as well as grant monies provided by WE. Page 17 is the project budget, which also shows the value of contracts encumbered to date. Not much has changed from our last meeting here, and I would expect a little variation in this document for the rest of the project life cycle. Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to take any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Steve? Yep. Good. With that, I'll turn it back over to you, Steve. Introduce. And I know Paul's here today, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So if you want to introduce a little introduction.
Sure. Thank you again. So Paul France for Baker Tilly here. He's pinch hitting for Wendy Unger. She's our assigned audit partner, but she's out today. So Paul is here, and he'll provide you to the board in a moment a presentation regarding the district's 2023 financial performance and audited financial statements. The overall financial results for 23 shouldn't be surprising, as they're generally consistent with the updates that Marty and I have provided to the board really over the past 15 months now. And so the board is aware and consistent with past practice. 2 weeks ago, management reviewed the statements and audit reports in depth with the two comptrollers who sit on our board, Liz Sumner and Bill Christensen. And last Thursday, Wendy was here. She presented these reports to the Finance Committee, and the committee voted affirmatively to recommend that the full board adopt today these 2023 financial statements. So at the conclusion of Paul's presentation here, and subject to any discussion from the board, management will be asking for the board to vote to adopt financial statements and audit reports. With that said, Paul, I turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks for the warm introduction. Marty, are you good to hear me? Am I loud enough?
A little bit louder if you can, but all good.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me pinch in for Wendy. She sends her best. She's out in the North Woods trying to fish. And, Wendy, you don't envision her on a boat fishing, but was quite excited to go. So thanks for letting me come in. It's good to see some familiar faces. Again, as Steve alluded to, no surprises in what I'm going to share. The audit process from the audit plan to what was conducted went as expected. And so happy to share positive results with you today. Click here to forward and discuss our auditor objectives and opinions. We plan to issue an unmodified opinion for the district, also known as a clean bill of health. So when you hire an external auditor, that is the outcome that you're looking to hear. Again, that's the highest level that we can give you. What that unmodified opinion means is that within that financial statement draft that's included in your binder, means that all necessary accounting disclosures have been made within there, that all accounting principles have been applied consistently year over year, and that there are no material misstatements. So again, that's what you're looking to have your external auditor tell you. So we move forward to, I'll give you some brief financial highlights for the district for 23. Again, I think Steve does a wonderful job in sharing with you the financial update that are more current than this. And so that's why I like to share again that there were no surprises. So I will highlight a few, but again, in my opinion, based on the information that you're getting, you have better things at your fingertips than what I have to share with you. Ultimately move forward, did it? There we go. All right, so on your statement of net position, total net position at the bottom of the page did go down $3 million. And we can first start looking at the non-current assets. That holds your restricted cash in your capital assets. So restricted cash went down $210 million with the spend down as expected. And that shift went into the capital asset category. So down to $210 million, and up capital assets by $223 million. Your deferred inflows and outflows tie into the City of Milwaukee ERS pension plan. That activity will change year over year based on actuarial information. It does have will flow through the income statement and it flows into effecting that total net position. Pension liability did go up $6.1 million this year. And again, nothing else to note here, minus in the net position, we do restrict for debt service. Part of net position to break that out, that's $56.7 million. We move to the income statement. And like I alluded to, results were relatively as expected. I'll point out in the operating expenditures, the unallocated operating expenditures, that was up about $6 million, tied really to what I referenced before with the changes in the pension activity. That's where you see that running through. Net tax revenue was up in all categories, just about $6 million. And then there was a small capital contribution from the Pabst Theater Group related to the Milwaukee High Life Theater. Moving then lastly to the statement of cash flow, I'll just draw you to the bottom of the page. The change in cash was $213 million. As I mentioned earlier, majority of that was related to the restricted cash spend down with the project, and unrestricted cash was relatively flat. Continuing, we also will issue an audit results letter, also known as a reporting and insights letter. That's with the pretty marketing cover within your packet. That highlights some required communications that we need to have with you as the governing body. Nothing new or surprising within that document. We do continue to note a material weakness over the preparation of financial statements. Management has chosen to outsource that to us and complete that. I know that Wendy and management have started having conversations about possibly bringing that in-house in future years, which would address that comment. That comment, though, is not unusual for an entity of yourself or other local municipalities to outsource that. There's a way of how management should spend their time, a cost benefit to that. And so why we have to share that with you is just under our professional standards. The governing body should be aware of that decision. So there is no concern with that. It's just important that you know. Included in that letter is a discussion around next year's audit. We call it a two-way communication. If there are things that you would like us to do differently, kick the tires on, dive into, Wendy has laid out kind of what the timeline is related to when we need to know that information. Additionally, we have a required communication section where we list out any new accounting principles that were adopted this past year. We worked with management to evaluate GASB 96. Nothing was ultimately implemented for that, so you don't see that disclosed there, but you would if it had been. Additionally, had we had difficulties in performing the work, you would have first heard about it long before this letter. There was none. We received nothing but cooperation from beginning to end on the audit process. It went very smooth. There were no significant journal entries within that, and what that tells me and should tell you as the board is that the financial information that you're getting throughout the year is solid to make the decisions that you need to. And again, that's what you want to hear. You want to know that what's in front of you is appropriate. You don't want your auditor coming in year end and guide you to the right place. I know Wendy and Steve do talk throughout the year. And so there's a good relationship that is a year-round discussion rather than us just coming in, and that I believe plays a part and is important. Lastly, we list out any non-attest services that we provide, so non-audit services. This would be us preparing that financial statement document. If we were to have found journal entries, that could be something listed there. Why it's important, in order for us to give you the unmodified opinion that we plan to, we at the end have to determine that we are independent from the district. We're happy to say in those non-attest services that we were able to maintain our independence and provide you that opinion. Lastly, in there, lastly, I apologize for that, but there is a draft of management's representation letter, which upon your acceptance, management will sign that letter, provide it back to Baker Tilly, which will ultimately lead to us issuing this report in final. That letter is customary, no surprises within there, but it's been provided to you for your oversight. Continuing on, We do some audit work around Levy and do plan to issue an unmodified opinion along with that. That work went very smooth, timely. I believe, as Wendy mentioned, the Finance Committee last week is ahead of schedule where it's been in the past, which is a great progress to see what management has moved in some of those processes to be available for us to be working through. And lastly, included in your report is a new report, a new agreed upon procedure related to the pilot calculation between the district and the city. Wendy and team have reviewed that, found no exceptions. And so that will be planned to be issued shortly thereafter, again, validating that agreement and the ultimate outcomes. Wendy's contact information is up on the screen. If you got any hard questions, we'll send them directly to her. With that, I'll turn it over to Marty and Steve if you have anything that you want to add before I open it up to questions.
I don't think so, Paul. I think that was pretty succinct. When you got a little more detail during the Finance Committee, kept it a little higher level today. Paul certainly can't answer any questions. Regarding the pilot payment agreed upon procedures, as we discussed last week, the district will be sending a letter to both the mayor's office and the common council appending the Baker Tilly report there so that they're also aware that there were no findings found during those procedures.
I'd just like to echo, although I begrudgingly do so, what Paul said about your involvement and how cooperative the department was this past year. If you were to go back and look at the 2018, 2019, 2020 audits, which are before Steve and the post Steve, there were a number of reoccurring issues raised and recommendations to change certain accounting practices. And Steve has really built up a very strong department that has been able to provide the support, not just to our organization, but also to Baker Tilly. So I just wanted to shout out to Kyle, Eric, David, and Susan, along with Stephen, really for just understanding the importance that there be no questions about the validity and reliability of the financial information year-round, but also as it relates to the audit. Good job, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions that you'd like to ask me?
Great. Paul, you're off the hook.
Very good. Thank you.
Not Wendy, though.
I'll let her know there's a lot of questions.
On behalf of the board, Steve. That's good. It took me a while to think of that. On behalf of the board too, Steve, I echo what Marty said. I think there were a number of things that we certainly haven't had those 100% clean reports as you started into the role and you cleaned up a lot of things with the team. That was a lot of hard work and you've navigated a lot of water. So to be in this spot financially is such an important thing as we continue to move forward and build, obviously with our expansion of the Baird Center, which we're going to hear about here in a second, into the future. It's great to have that solid footing to put on. So thank you for leading that. Thank you. With that said, I think we are ready for Mike Abrams. No, we're not. Oh, yeah. Yes. And I think you did say this earlier, Steve, the Finance Committee did recommend coming out of Finance Committee and approval. So let's keep that as we go. So I will entertain a motion to approve the audit. I would move for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor of approval of the audit, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any opposed? Great. The audit has been approved. Oh. All right. Apparently, we're going to change the agenda. Marty's going to go now. There's that right. Marty's going to give us an update. So it's moving quickly here, but Marty will give us a CEO report. Mike here.
Mike is here.
Oh, you can't steal. You're going to get a report too, right? Please. He's just going ahead of you. I don't know. Yeah, right.
Anyway, before I get into the substantive components of my report, a couple of just HR things. First, I did want to acknowledge to the group that Bob Seefeld, our Vice President of Facilities and colleague, working for both the city and then transitioning to The WCD retired last week after 48 years of service. Those of you who were able to attend his farewell reception this week, thank you for coming. He was very touched, and it's not very often. Bob achieved 2 milestones. Not only did he work here for almost 40 years, he'll be married to Marilyn for 48 years in August. So he's just knocking it out of the park. Another thing I'd like to do is just introduce Joe Stack. Joe, if you could stand up. Joe joined us a couple of months ago. He is our Vice President of Public Safety and Guest Services. He joins us. He's a retired captain from the City of Franklin Police Department and has worked for the Bucks over at the Bradley Center, and then was Director of Security over at the 5-Star Forum. So it's our pleasure to have him join our team. He brings a lot of experience and knowledge to our organizations. Welcome. Lastly, just for your information, not getting into any concern with HIPAA, but our Vice President of Human Resources, Nyla, had surgery on Monday. She's recovering well, doing well, but she's out of the office this week. We'll be back in virtually next week and then back in the week after that. She handled the surgery very well. Would like to welcome, as Jim did initially, Bill Christensen and Liz Sumner, each the respective city and county comptroller. We've already beat them up pretty good over wanting a piece of their time in addition to their day jobs, and look forward to them really being an asset to Steve and me as we go through the year, and just using you guys as a sounding board, making sure we're on track and working in the district's best interests. Since we last met, Baird Center opened. Leading up to it, there were a lot of activities. I'd just like to give a very quick recap of the month leading into where we are today. We started off on May 4th. From 1 to 4 p.m., we hosted an open house for the WCD full and part-time staff and the construction and design personnel, for them and their families to come in, take a sneak peek at the building, and so they could show off to their friends of what they've been doing for the past several years behind the construction plans. We had always planned on doing this type of an event to show appreciation to all those involved in the project and our organization. And frankly, we're a little surprised to learn from Gilbane, C.D. Smith, and Icon how uncommon it is for the work team to be invited into a property before it's opened so they can just show it off and take pride. We've been all about making sure that this project was integrated into the community. And this was just another thing that just made all the sense in the world to us. And to see how people were looking around, pointing to their friends, family, spouses. I put this up. That's the light fixtures I put in. It was just extremely gratifying. We put together a video, part of which I think was shown during the gala. I'd like to share with you. It really is a nice overview of what this project has meant to people from all different areas involved in the project.
All the efforts, the blood, sweat, and tears that went into building this project and making it look as beautiful as it did is a real sense of accomplishment for all of us involved.
To see what everybody put into this, and now we've got the finished product, it was unreal.
It's an enduring legacy for, for the future generation and for future craft workers.
Genuine feeling of, I want to show off the place that I work. I am super proud to come in every day.
They had a really good time. I was an incremental part of that.
It's exciting to be a part of it. To say that I got to be one of the designers on this project is, well, it's very special.
Showing my kids like, hey, mom built that.
Oh yeah, I'm real proud to show my mom. I'm a real big mom's boy.
Yeah, that's what I teach all my kids, and looking what we built in.
And being a part of it is just huge to me, because I'll be driving past here constantly talking about, I did that.
Relief that we were able to actually make this all happen.
And our clients who want to come in and that we get to work with, this building is for them, and to see that come alive, that's definitely a sense of pride. I think that's the perfect word.
For me personally, to have been identified to be on the art committee, I will take that experience with me for the rest of my career.
Driving past the Baird Center in 5-10 years, I'm gonna look at that building and say, you know what, I had a hand in there.
To see the excitement on everyone's face, staff and guests coming through that were touring, people are blown away, and they have a right to be. This is a gem within a gem of a city.
You get used to, see people that you met
doing the job.
The biggest thing for me probably is going to be just the people that I've worked with here. You create so many relationships and, you know, so many friendships.
Went from being a young, fresh out of college, not really knowing a lot, to now I feel like I'm a safety professional who really gained my voice on this project.
It's taken a long time and a lot of work for a lot of us, and it really looks nice. It's an honor to be part of it.
Yeah, it'll be cool to look back in 10 years from now and go, that was my first project.
Way to go, Milwaukee.
I have tremendous pride. Look at the finished product, you know, it's very exciting.
I would have to say pride, yeah.
I think that pride may even be a bit of an understatement.
I'm proud for everything we did.
The pride is enormous.
I'm gonna miss it.
This is gonna be a real proud moment, you know, just to show maybe my kids someday.
Special relationship we built with the construction team, no pun intended. It wasn't just giving them access on May 4th. It was something that we did throughout the project between acknowledging and honoring women in the workplace, doing courtesy lunches for the team throughout the course of the 3-year project, random acts of kindness when we brought Bobby Portis, gave him a tour, and then Bobby Portis was handing out cookies and helping the team get coffee. It was just an ongoing activity, and really second nature to us to embrace the team that we were relying on to create the future for our city. So really enjoy that video. Thank you, Sarah, for putting that together. The leading up to, and now we're at May 16th, Thursday morning, we had the official ribbon cutting. Many of you were there. Press conference was very well attended, and with significant media coverage. It was great to finally see the collaborative stare that we've been looking at for the past 4 years on paper really come to life and be used in the manner in which it was designed to do. In addition to the ribbon cutting, we also had 3 MPS schools in attendance, and they helped place the time capsule that we put into one of the first floor walls, acknowledging different things that they put in there. And hopefully the time capsule will be open in 50 or more years, and we'll get a reflection for those in the future, what we were doing and what was going on in our city in 2024. Later that same day, we were very happy how quickly everyone left the ribbon cutting because we had to do the finishing touches to the building for the gala. At 5:30, we officially opened the North Building with a grand opening gala. By our and all other accounts, the event was extremely well received and delivered on our intended promise for having a grand opening gala, which was to showcase what can be done in a traditional convention center ballroom, something that just takes imagination to really present. Our naming rights partner, Baird, was extremely pleased with the event, and really something that they walked away with very proud to have their name associated with. The performing talent with Adina Menzel, I thought she was terrific, and there was certainly no shortage of mentions of either Milwaukee or Baird by her on stage. So both of those mentions were very gratifying to see her do. 2 days after the gala, on Saturday, May 18th, we opened the Baird Center for a free open house to the public, giving anyone and everyone an opportunity to experience what has been happening behind the construction fence since October of 2021. Almost 2,000 people came to the event and were quite amazed what they saw. It was really fun, and got a lot of pleasure out of watching people going around. Wow, wow, wow. At all of the art pieces, there's a QR code and people walking around, going to that QR code and making it right to the page of the website we have specifically for all of the art, and being able to identify that. A number of the artists were here, and we were very happy to talk about their pieces as the public came by. One of the things that we look to do is to look at what kind of attention coverage did the opening of Baird Center get. And the Marketing and Communications Department, headed up by Sarah Mayo, put together a 90-day look back that went from, what's my place? February 24th to May 24th, showing the public relations and social media impact in the analytics. This was only done for Baird Center. And if you would, Sarah, I'd like you to just share that with the board so they can get a sense of what kind of exposure we got and the economic impact that could have.
Thank you, Marty. So, of course, our marketing communications department had a very long-range earned media plan that was focused on really capturing the one-time opportunity of opening this building, amplifying awareness of our key building highlights, namely inclusion, DEI, and community engagement. So what I will share with you today, as Marty said, is a simple 90-day look back, a quick snapshot. If you have more questions about any of this afterwards, of course, I'm happy to address them anytime. So we'll open with a broad view of general media coverage in the 90 days leading up to the end of May. We had 76 online articles and 162 broadcast clips. Important to note that these online articles had a broad range from local to national to international outlets and publications. We had all local broadcasts covering our building throughout the course of those 90 days. And these numbers represent a 400% increase over the 90 days before this. If we were to go out and seek to do a paid media plan for all of that broadcast coverage, we would be looking at about a $28 million investment. So just to give a quick glimpse of what does that mean in all of that coverage, it means about $28 million in the paid market. Throughout all that content, we also have a couple of other key measurements. We have our top article by UVM, which means unique devices to that publication's domain. That one was a snippet from Marty's Day with Brian Cramp from Fox 6. He did an 8-piece segment with us in the week before the grand opening, going through the building from top to bottom and exploring every corner. So this particular clip that morning was our highest UVM. And then on the right, you'll see the top broadcast clip by national audience and national ad value. Going into the grand opening gala, we made a strategic choice to identify an exclusive media partnership with Fox 6. We did that for a couple of reasons, but the top reason was that we knew by having an exclusive partnership, we would be able to capitalize on primetime coverage. And that's exactly what happened. So this top broadcast clip by national audience and ad value was during the gala because it was in primetime. Some notable news coverage that our team identified for you. To start on the left is the article with Bloomberg. Thank you to Visit for also assisting with all of this. This was a really interesting national article that focused on cities who are just now starting to invest in a convention center expansion, and specifically called out Milwaukee and Baird Center as an example of a city who is way ahead of that curve and the benefits that we are already yielding from that decision.
Sir, if you don't mind, I'd like to interrupt for a second. You may, those of you who were on our board back in April 2nd of 2020, I gave this somewhat passionate why now discussion before the vote to authorize the project. And one of the points that was raised is that we have a shovel-ready project. We've got it designed. We're going to be ready to hit the ground running. Yes, we're in the peak part of COVID, but all of the research that we had requested showed that there would be a recovery. It probably wouldn't be till 24 or 25, but that we would recover to pre-COVID 19 numbers. So the time to attack this project was back in 20, which you empowered us to do. And really, to see that article was just a validation that our rationale was sound. And not only was recovery going to happen in 24, it happened sooner. So we're in a far better place than we even thought we were going to be. Thank you.
Thank you. The center article that you see highlighted here was a story in Business Journal that is an example of two wonderful things that we'd love to talk about. Number one are the DEI and minority business metrics that we met and sailed past through part of this project. You may also remember that we did a special section with our friends at Business Journal. So every subscriber received that special section specifically on Baird Center in their May 3rd edition. There was a very robust digital campaign that went along with it. I do have copies of that if you still don't have one. And then we also ordered overs for that. So every guest at the gala received an extra copy of that on their way out along with their Yeti. And then the last article we highlighted here is from a broadcast clip with Cassandra McShepard from TMJ4, who does not do hard-hitting coverage. She does a lot more community focus and has been here many times. But this article in particular was just a lovely story that she came in and toured with Marty and walked every square inch of the building and talked about the intention and the purposeful way that we went through, not just designing the building, but focusing on inclusivity and community engagement. It was a great story. So that's a quick PR overview. We'll move on to social. Before we get started in this, I do want to highlight and make sure you understand that the numbers that we're representing here today are exclusively based on the posts and the engagement that we had on our own channel. So this is representative only of content that originated on Baird Center's Facebook page, Baird Center's Instagram page, Baird Center's LinkedIn page, etc. This is not representative of everyone who shared it, sent it out to their group, made an original post that tagged Baird Center. So hundreds and millions of impressions beyond this. This is only regarding our own channels. So you see here that we had 263,000 impressions, 245 total engagements. Those are significant numbers for us. We've spent a lot of time over the last 9 months with our social media manager, Melissa Ward, developing an incredibly robust social media plan overall. These numbers, the impressions represent a 106% increase over the 90 days before this, and the engagements is an 823% increase over the 90 days before this. So really focusing on putting out content that causes that interaction, that engagement, and the positive sentiment from all of our community users. So I can say the numbers all day long, but let's look at a couple of our favorite snapshots of the social posts that didn't get included in those numbers. Here we have MPD and the mayor talking about the grand opening gala on Instagram, Mayor Johnson's post on X. A few more familiar faces here. We have Aicha's post with, I think, a cameo from Bill in there. Bravo, you're in there. Oh, I see you. Senator Johnson, awesome. Thank you for being there and posting. All of this helps with our positive sentiment and positive engagement. This is all about impressions, eyeballs, and awareness. Representative Haywood, thank you. Appreciate that. We see Alicia Dupies here, Vice President of Gilbane. You can see in her post everyone that she tagged. So everyone that she tagged on there was also showcased. This was also sent out to their audiences. This is what makes stuff go viral, and we love it. Couple more, one from Baird. And then we got into folks who might not have a direct impact with the project, but still felt really compelled to talk about it, which was so wonderful. So UWM coach Bart Lundy. We have Nate Baumhoff, who took a gorgeous picture of the building that evening. We had some guests from within the event that night, Eric Kennedy talking about it. We had hashtag MKE promote our May 18th public open house as part of that media plan and comms plan. We had Jeff Sherman, who talked, of course, about the gala, but then also referenced the open house on his radio show. And a quick snapshot from Mary Stoker-Smith, who, of course, was one of our Fox 6 reporters on site that evening, with maybe my favorite quote from all the posts that I saw, which is, "There are spectacular events, and then there was this." So it really was spectacular. We're very proud of this work. We have a lot more ahead of us now to make sure that we are capitalizing and growing incredibly long legs on this project, and really keeping the momentum going forward, not just in our department and not just for the district, but with Visit as well for the city at large. So one last thing to share. We did do, by noon the next day, we posted on our channels a quick little sizzle video recap of the event and of the day before. Video performs better than pictures, and pictures perform better than words. So we wanted to make sure that we had a quick turn, something to put out to the general universe. The purpose and my expectation of that piece was twofold. Number one, I wanted the people who attended the night before to see it and go, "Oh my God, I have to forward this to my network immediately." And number two, I wanted the people who saw the video and did not attend the event the night before to go, "Dang, missed that party." So here it is.
I've dreamt of this day for the past 4 years, and I am so excited to finally be able to show you all what we've built inside here.
Good morning, Milwaukee. This is an amazing facility.
Now, if you would please raise a glass and let's toast to this momentous evening and the official opening of the Baird Center. With your help, the best is yet to come.
Thank you, Sarah.
My pleasure. Yes, I know. I know.
Can't believe it.
How do you think Mike's feeling after that? He's got to go after all.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wonder why you wanted to go free. I got more stuff before Mike. So yes, everything was about grand opening the gala and getting the project done, but other things to report on. In April, subsequent to our March meeting, David Schneider, our Vice President of Corporate Partnerships, reached an agreement with We Energy Foundation to serve as the naming rights partner for the art collection in the Baird Center. And that was really something that we've been working on for months, and the fact that we were able to get it to happen before the gala was something they were interested in being included in, and certainly wanted to be able to take advantage of the grand opening gala. And then around the same time, we also secured a multi-year deal with Potawatomi, making them the exclusive casino property for Wisconsin Center District and Baird Center, and just two sponsorships agreements that, as Steve indicated, we may have been we were short in first quarter. Hopefully these taking effect as of May 1 will help shrink that short. On the event booking side of our business, 62 meetings and conventions went definite between March 4th and June 6th. Specifically 33 events for this year, 25 for 2025, 3 for 2026, and 1 for 2028. Our sales department is 89% of the way to their 2024 event goal of 319 events for this year. We need to have 34 events to go, and very optimistic that they will achieve that number. We now have 129 contracted and definite events in the North Building through 2028, a 28 event increase from this past March. In addition to these, there are an additional 214 events holding space in the North Building through 2032, 12 more than were holding events at the March board meeting. Of note this year was the performance of our annual Electrical Wire Processing Technology Expo. Consumer show, it's a trade show, not something that the public is really aware of, but we've had it in the building for over 15 years. This show this year was recognized as a top 100 fastest growing trade show in the United States by Trade Show Executive Magazine. There were 2,900 attendees, of which 921 were first-time attendees. 17 countries were represented at the show, and there was a 15% increase in year-over-year exhibitors. Why this is so important to highlight is it demonstrates what we otherwise have seen happen, and that is that the meetings and convention and trade show business is coming back. The interest in this show has been so strong that they have increased their space for next year's show. We'll be using all 5 halls, taking advantage of the 300,000 square feet of exhibition space. It's incredible, the fact that we're seeing 17 countries, international travel is coming back. Clearly, that was the biggest thing that was hit when the airline stopped flying in 2020. And we charged Megan Setman, our VP of Sales, to spearhead our involvement with this event 5.5 years ago when she joined the organization. And she's done a tremendous job, not necessarily micromanaging it, but really hands-on and providing the insight and direction, pushing them to sell more space. And just want to acknowledge not only this trade show, but also Megan's role and my appreciation for how she's taking control of it. On the sports side, we're in discussions already with UWM putting together their men's basketball schedule for next season. They have confirmed a new event for us, and that is a pre-Thanksgiving tournament. It's two doubleheaders, one on November 22nd, and then another doubleheader on November 24th. So those will be additional events to the schedule that they normally play in our building. Hopefully, all of you know that the Admirals are in the Western Conference Finals for the Calder Cup Championship. They won last night, so they're down 3-1, or yeah, they're down 1-3, whatever it may be. Game 5 is tomorrow night, and then should they win, when they win, they'll go back out to California and play games 6 and 7 and bring home the Western Conference championships next week. Something that wanted to make the board aware of, and that is that the existing agreement with the Admirals expires at the end of the 26-27 season. We have been trying to get together with the team over the past several months. Next week, Steve Marsh, Brian Rakowski, and I have the first meeting with the Admirals to get a sense of what they're looking for, and if so, we asked what we'd be looking for in a new deal. So optimistic that we can make something happen, but wanted the board to be aware that those discussions will start next week. No deal will be made, obviously, without the board's involvement.
Along that lines, when is the contract up with UWM?
After the 28-29 season. Their agreement runs through June 30th of 2029. Sure. Since our March board meeting, the Miller High Life Theater has hosted 2 sold-out Kevin Hart shows back in April and a sold-out Postal Service and Death Cab for Cutie in early May. I think I saw you there. The 21 shows thus far booked in the theater this calendar year, including, here's another one. They're going to the eclectic pop star and violinist Lindsey Sterling, Australian psychedelic rock band. I have a very difficult time saying this. Help me if I don't pronounce it correctly. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Well done. Thank you. And then we have Steve Miller, the Steve Miller Band featuring Milwaukee-born Steve Miller later this year. Other entertainment activity includes in the UWM Panther Arena, we hosted the Mother's Day Laugh-a-thon. This summer, immediately following the RNC, the UWM Panther Arena will host Phil Wickman and Brandon Lake's Summer Worship Nights Tour, which is on pace to selling out. We are 2 months away and already 90% of the house has been sold, which is terrific. In March, tonight's Conversation Live, a live podcast event, returned to the Baird Center for the second time. And in May, Anthony Pettis' APFC held their second MMA event at Baird Center. It's called Fight Fiesta, and we expect to have them back for another event in Q4 of this year. As we continue to invest in our staff, we all know that June is Pride Month. We've done a number of activities and communications to the staff about Pride Month. There will be mandatory awareness training for all full-time staff taking place in the next 3 weeks. Later this year, we're going to be adding an option. We're just now working on the language for the survey to send out to the staff for the ability for the staff to put on their email signature pronouns if they so choose, as well as for their ID badge. Our next town hall for the staff is June 20th. The primary focus of this event will be to share information on what we know at the time, details on the RNC, how it affects their work schedule, and any type of logistics that we need to make sure everybody's aware of so that they can get into the facility safely and expeditiously as possible. We've been asked by Secret Service to provide names of all of the full and part-time staff that may be working so that they can do checks because of our location in the secure zone. Everyone has to be checked out. So that's already in process. Then our next big event moving forward is the RNC. We continue to have a strong relationship with the host committee. They have completely fulfilled their agreement. Payments are up to date, and we're in a good place with them as far as what they're going to be, how they're going to be using our building, and what requirements we'll have to fulfill their event. Jim mentioned that the next board meeting is in September, which also corresponds with the terms of our current officers of chairman, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. So at the next board meeting, we will go through an election of those 4 positions. Those who are currently in the position, if you're still interested in maintaining that, please let us have your name. And anyone who might not be currently in a position but interested in holding one of those positions, please get me your name by the end of August, early September, so we can get it out in the agenda for the September board meeting. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I conclude my CEO report and open to any questions before Mr. Abrams gives us an update on the expansion project. Any questions?
Any questions for Marty? Comments? No. Again, thank you. I think for those that were at the event, the opening event was awesome. It was one of those things where people were still talking about it, I think, even today. So appreciate the hard work. Those of us in that industry know how hard it is to put those things together and the amount of detail that needs to make it happen. So hopefully those that you attended felt the same way, and we'll continue to push it forward now. Now the hard work and heavy lifting begins to make sure we fill it now that we've got that word. So, Mike?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Mike Abrams, CA Icon, owners reps on the expansion project. Before I get into the quick construction update and expansion update, I just the video from the construction trades. It was great seeing that again. You can see the pride really coming through from all the craftswomen on the project, and I think it's really a result of the culture we had on this project from the beginning of the job, and that culture was really set by Marty Brooks, the entire WCD leadership and executive staff, and it really just rolled right through all the firms, all the construction workers on the project. You can see the results of it. It was a very successful project from the beginning. We've been out here working on the project for 4.5 years, roughly, going on 5 years this fall. And it was a long project. It was a long process because we had a delay in there with COVID and approvals. But I can report to say it was one of our most successful projects as a company. So given that, I just want to kind of back up on a couple of dates and give a few updates on the project. I'll do kind of a recap board meeting in September. So this is our next to last presentation. There's no video, there's no pictures, just a quick update on how things are completing on the property. So Marty mentioned the May 4th contractor open house. To back up from that, since our last board meeting in middle of March, we had a couple of other significant milestones on the construction team side. We received our temporary certificate of occupancy on March 21st. Our contractual completion date was March 29th. So the construction team beat that by over a week. They really worked hard in the months leading up to that day, working very collaboratively with the city inspectors, with the design team, dialing in all the life safety elements of the project. So they did an amazing job. They took a lot of pride in beating that date. March 29th, we received substantial completion. That was the contractual date for the construction team. So we received that actually right on the exact date. That is when the building is really ready for its intended use of the building. So all approvals by the city, by the design team, they certify that the building is ready for use. And then on May 1st, so one more month after that, we received the final certificate of occupancy, which really didn't take that much time after substantial completion. So typically that could last 3 to 6 months. You can probably go a year without getting the final certificate of occupancy. You're allowed to move in and use the building. Life safety systems are approved, but hitting that milestone of actually getting the C of O on May 1st was another tremendous accomplishment. Of course, Marty mentioned the May 4th contractor open house, which was wonderful, and then the May 16th gala. So that's kind of how things lined out on the construction timeline. A shout out to really all of our partners on the project. Very collaborative, integrated team approach. Like I said, I think it really starts with the client. They really set that culture. The team of Gilbane Building Company and C.D. Smith, they were a wonderful partner throughout the entire process. These projects are complicated. It was on an existing footprint that had an existing foundation system still underground. We had to build in and around that. We had to build in and around and underneath an existing building, 2 levels of meeting rooms and parking. And they also had to build around existing events and the existing calendar of events. Conventions and meetings still occurred throughout the entire project. So there was a very close-knit impact meeting group that discussed upcoming events. And we worked really well. Thought the construction team worked very well, and they were pretty nimble and flexible around the event schedule. We also had some things thrown at us during the middle of the project from added scope, mostly from life safety, dealing with added fire alarm upgrades in the south building. The construction team, the design team, and everybody rolled with that. Of course, we're going to do what's right and upgrade to current codes. So we had a few curveballs thrown at us. That's just one example. There was a lot of other examples. They maintained the schedule. They maintained high level quality throughout. They never once said the project was not going to get done on time. So great partners. We chose the right partners, design team and construction team as well. We knew coming out of COVID that we were going to be challenged with supply chain, long lead items. We really focused in on that and procured long lead materials very early on the project. So mechanical, electrical equipment, got steel mill orders placed very early on the project, things that could trip us up. We were able to get a good jump start on that. CAICon, our company, also acts as somewhat of a contractor, a general contractor on a lot of scopes as well. FF&E, which is furniture, fixtures, and equipment scopes. We self-managed that. We procured furniture, the artwork. We managed the water feature element at the front entry, the solar panels. We got involved a lot with cellular and DAS systems, some of the food and beverage equipment that we procure, we order, we manage the installation. So we jumped on all that early as well. We knew lead times with furniture and those sort of things were not going to be easy throughout the project, and we jumped on those early. Those are just some of the success stories that we talked about many years ago on how we were going to approach the project. They all came true. On the inclusion side, our inclusion numbers, like Marty mentioned, have exceeded the goals for the project. Again, real quick, the business contracting inclusion goal of 31%. We are currently at almost 43%, so almost 12% higher. And then the RPP, which is the local residents' labor on the project, 40% was the goal, and we are nearing 48%. We still have a reporting period that we have to get final results in, and I would think in the next 30 days we'll have a final inclusion report documented. And then the other labor components of women, disabled, veteran, and minority was a 31% goal. We're at 42%. So the team knocked that out of the park. There was a lot of focus early on that and throughout the project. Some of the remaining scope, real quick, that we are here and still managing, and it's all in the south building. And there's a few items still remaining in there to complete. We're about 85% complete with south building upgrades. We have been working around the event schedule. Like I said before, and some of the events are just a priority to completing some of the construction, of course. So some of this is going to happen later in the summer. We are still doing some work around the existing ballroom entries. We have some technology, video screens. We're putting in some security into the doors, and we're also refacing it with the new wood paneling, similar to the meeting room upgrades. We're completing right now some of the meeting room entries on the main level. Video monitors throughout the pre-function spaces. Some of the old video monitors we're going through and replacing. And then we're also adding another level to the what's currently on the first level at the main south entry is a conflux or a market space. We are adding a very similar space right above it on the second floor. So all this work will be done by late September into early October. The construction team is completing their punch list. So touch-ups and items of quality that were identified a few months ago head over, and it's a very, very large building. So these numbers, although large, are pretty consistent with the square footage of the building. But of 4,000 items on the punch list, they're honestly down to 90 to 100 items right now. And you think in the next couple of weeks they'll have the balance of that taken care of. They had orders, some door hardware and some miscellaneous changes that material that they're still waiting on. Financial closeout of the project is occurring now. We're verifying all final construction contracts, final billings. We believe that the financial closeout will occur later in the fall, early winter. Our goal is by the end of this year to have a final invoice into the district, knowing that some of the south building stuff is going to be later in the summer. The closeout of all the subcontractors, so all their as-built, their warranty documents, operating manuals is all getting turned over to the district currently. With a building this size and the complexity of it, there's always things that are expected that we are still managing throughout the warranty period. One, because we have such a large campus and we added on and almost doubled the square footage, we basically had two buildings that became one. So we open up hallways and corridors, and how do we balance and integrate all the building systems together to make sure that they're all talking in unison. So we are making some tweaks, responding to some issues there with air balancing, some set points on some equipment that we have to adjust, those sort of things. So those items are very common. We have a few other things with some technology that we're dealing with some of the conference rooms and just making sure we have a very high level amount of technology in these rooms. And we're just making sure that we're, as we start using them, like we are here this morning, that we're learning and we're adjusting kind of on the fly. So our role at CICON is to support Marty and the district throughout the warranty period. Our warranty period is 2 years. So we are here. We're still having weekly warranty and impact meetings with the team. Still meet with Marty and Steve and Damon on a weekly basis. So our role continues, and it will throughout the warranty period. But I think we've got a good rhythm right now between Gilbane Smith and facilities as far as warranty items. And again, just to close it out, we'll have one final September board meeting, and if you need us to come back and present again, we're happy to. So I'll thank everybody from the board, the district, and it's been a great experience for our company, and it's great getting having our, I think it's our second convention center. We mostly do projects in the sports world, but this has been a great project for our company, and we're very thankful.
Mike, you were very gracious in acknowledging the district and the partners involved in UH, Gilbane and Smith. It was not a given because you guys worked on the Bucks arena that you were going to be our owners rep. You will recall 4 years ago a lot of very passionate discussions about what your role would be, and it turned out to be an easy decision. Clearly do stand up here with great partners. You're really integrating into our organization. I'm
Having kudos to review everybody about fun. You guys are doing great. So thank you very much. We see how things the goal speaks for itself, right? To relax the members of the community, that's it's important. The thing for the board, the community, this stuff matters a lot, and I think it's nice. I think it's really one of the reasons why we have embraced this so much, because it always feel like you are folks working and continue to get that time as well. Really appreciate that. Next item, actually was addressed already a little bit in your city of there's going to be a closed session regarding some discussions that we had most. He's already stated that, unless there's anything else we want to state on that. So there's no need for us to go into closed session comment on that. Next, future board meeting dates on the last page of your packet, also available online. Michael sent out, I think, the next one is September 27th. Full board meeting, if I'm not mistaken. I do know we have some committee meetings prior to that as we go into budget preparation. Steve, it's that time of the season. Again, you get out of audit season, you get back into budget preparation. So never rest for the financial world. So we always work. Yeah. So that's one for us to make sure that we have 30, and then the following one is the approval. I believe we approve the budget in September, October. So just make sure we're engaged and attentive. And if you can't make it live, certainly try to make it via video. So if there's any questions or dates, please let us know. Pretty set in stone as we've sent those out well in advance. Other than that, if there's any other future board discussion, yes, hold on. Happy birthday, Representative Kayla. Oh, wait a minute. Happy birthday. No cake? Oh, God. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kayla. Happy birthday to you. For those that are on the video portion, that's probably where you hope your audio isn't working so well. Well done. Yeah, happy birthday. Thank you. If there's any other future things you want to discuss, that'll be available to put on the agenda in September. Just get a hold of us. Obviously, a month in advance, we have to publish the agenda items before we go into a lot of these things. We'll have some more future discussion items in the committee meetings as we go into that. With that said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. All right, meeting is adjourned. Have a fantastic weekend. And summer. And summer, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you, Lily.
Oh, yeah.